To get to your Google Calendar, you need to use the postage stamp located in the upper right-hand corner. This postage stamp appears in both your mail and your Google Drive, so you should have no problems finding it. Once you've clicked on the postage stamp, you should see a blue calendar icon. When you click on that, you'll be brought to your Google Calendar. You may be brought through a tutorial to set up your calendar for things like your time zone when you first log into your calendar. On the left-hand side, you have your red Create button, as well as a drop-down for a quick add. You have the monthly view of the calendar. You have a tab that says My Calendars. On the left is a small triangle. When you click that, it'll expand to show you the calendars you have. When you click on the triangle on the right, you have the options to create a new calendar or go to your settings. You then see other calendars, which may be calendars you subscribe to. Again, the triangle on the left-hand side will expand that view to show you which calendars you have, and then the drop-down triangle on the right will allow you to add a friend's calendar, browse interesting calendars that are made public, add by URL, import a calendar, and change your settings. Along the top of the page, you have options such as Today, if you're viewing another day, left and right arrows, which will bring you backward and forward by either a week, a month, or a day, depending on the view you have set. This one is currently set to a weekly view. So if I click on the right, it'll bring me forward 1 week. If I click back, it'll bring me back 1 week. I then have the option here to view by day, by week, by month, by 4 days, an agenda view, and then I have a More option, which allows me to print or refresh. You also have this gear, which when you click on it, allows you to change your settings. Comfortable, Cozy, or Compact deals with the view and how tightly things are shown on the screen. Your settings, Help, Labs, Offline, Sync with mobile devices, and Send feedback. Google provides you with a default calendar, which is automatically set to private. This is the calendar that's attached to your email, so if you get invited to events, for example, they'll automatically go on your calendar. What I'd like you to do is create a separate calendar. To do that, you click on the triangle to the right of My Calendars, and you click Create New Calendar. I'd like you to give the calendar a name. You can provide a description, a location, a time zone. Setting the time zone can be very important, particularly if you're using the calendar for appointments. You can make your calendar public, or you can share only your free and busy information, and you can share the calendar with specific people. At the moment, we'll leave the settings as are, and we'll create our calendar. You'll now see on the left-hand side under My Calendars you have two options: the calendar that's your default and your homework calendar. If you'd like to add events, you can do this in multiple ways. The first is to create. You give your event a title. You choose a date for it to occur on. You choose a time and a time zone. It will default to whichever time zone is in your settings. You can choose to have the event appear all day or for a specific time slot, and you can choose to repeat this event. When I click on Repeat, I can choose that it repeats weekly, monthly, yearly, daily, every day Monday to Friday, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or every Tuesday and Thursday. I can say that it repeats every 1 week or every 2, and these options will change depending on what you have it set to. And I can choose to have it repeat on specific days during the week. I can choose when it starts and when it ends. I'm going to click Done. The next area has more event details. You can enter a location. You can add a video call. The next area is where you choose which calendar your event appears on. It goes to your default calendar by default, but if you'd like to have it appear on another calendar, you simply click and switch calendars. If you are using calendars for a homework calendar, in the description area would be where you would want to enter the details about your homework assignment. Under that, you can choose an event color. These colors will only apply to the calendar that you see. Your events will appear in other people's calendars in whatever colors they choose. You can choose to give yourself pop-up reminders or email reminders. You can choose when those reminders occur, in minutes, hours, days, or weeks. And you can add multiple reminders to the same appointment or same event so that you can be reminded multiple times. The next option asks if you'd like to have yourself shown as available or busy. For example, events that you want on your calendar but don't necessarily mean that you will not be available, you might want to mark as available. And you can leave the privacy settings at default. We'll talk more about this in a minute. On the far right hand side, you see this option to add guests. If you were creating an event that you wanted to invite people to, you start adding their email address in the Add Guests area. I'm going to add myself as a guest to the event, and then I can give some more options. I can allow my guests to modify the event if necessary, invite others, or see the guest list. I don't want people to be able to invite others, but they certainly can see who else was invited. Once my event invitation has gone out, my responders will show up in this area under guests, and it'll tell me whether they're going to come to the event or not. Once that's complete, I click on Save. It now asks, because I've included a guest, whether I'd like to send invitations. I'm going to click Send. And now I'll receive an email in that account telling me that I've been invited to an event. One helpful tip, if you're not seeing events show up on your calendar, is when you look on the left-hand side, you'll see an indication of whether the calendar is on based on the color. To turn a calendar off, you click on it, and the events from that calendar will no longer appear. I'm going to turn off my homework calendar, and now you'll see my homework event has disappeared. It did not get deleted, it simply is not being shown. To show it, I click on the calendar again, and it should reappear. Let's take a look at your calendar settings. Hover over your default calendar and click on the down triangle. Then go to Calendar Settings. You can choose to rename your default calendar, though it will still be your default. Give it a description, a location, just as if we were setting up new. There's also an option to embed the calendar. You can get the calendar address to share with people, and you can delete the calendar permanently. Scrolling back up to the top, the next option is Share this calendar. At the moment, your default calendar is set to private. I'd recommend keeping it this way because as you get invited to events or maybe put personal doctor's appointments on there, you don't want those shared to the world. And then you have reminders and notifications. The default is a pop-up reminder 30 minutes before each event. You can change that anytime you wish to an email reminder or to a different amount of time. And you can default your calendar to remind you multiple times about the same events. The next area allows you to choose a notification method other than your email or pop-up reminders. You can receive text messages when you have new events, changed events, canceled events, or event responses, and you can ask to have a daily agenda with all of the day's activities listed in an email. You will need to set up your mobile phone if you'd like to receive notifications. If you've made any changes to your calendar, please be sure to click Save. I'm now going to go to my homework calendar. Again, I'm going to click on the down triangle, and I'm going to click on Calendar Settings. You'll see that this new calendar has the same features as your default calendar, including changing the name, the description and location, your time zone. It has an option of whether you automatically accept invitations or not. Once again, that embed code, the address, the private address, and delete the calendar. Back up to the top and click on Share this calendar. Because I want to use this calendar as a homework calendar, which will eventually make it onto my website, I'm going to make this calendar public. And because I'm going to include descriptions in my homework assignments, I don't want to check Share Only Free Busy information, because that means all details will be hidden and the students will simply see that they have homework, not what it is. I can decide to send my calendar to specific people. For example, if I have a contact group set up of my students, I might wish to send my calendar to them. Because I've changed this to make my calendar public, I want to make sure I click Save. I get a warning telling me that my calendar will now be public and available to the world. Am I sure? My answer is yes. I'm going to go back into my homework calendar and my calendar settings once more. I'm going to look at my reminders and notifications. You'll see that when you make a second calendar, it does not automatically have a reminder set. You would have to set that yourself. Once again, if people invite this public calendar to different events, you will not receive notification. It should not matter, so I'm going to leave these settings alone, and I'm going to go back to my calendar. I'm going to hit Cancel. Another way to create an event on your calendar is to use the arrow to the right of the Create button. This is your Quick Add menu. It gives you an example, Dinner with Michael, 7 p.m. tomorrow. Google makes an attempt to create an event based on what you type. So I'm typing Homework Chapter 1 tomorrow and clicking Add. It's automatically created an all-day event for my homework assignment. Unfortunately, it does put it on my default calendar. If I ever find myself with an event on the wrong calendar, I click on it, I click Edit Event, and then I find the area that allows me to change calendars, and I move it to the correct calendar. I click Save because I've already made event, and now I'm back to my calendar. Another way to add an event to a calendar, if you go back to the left, hover over your calendar name, and click on the down triangle to the right. Another option in this menu is to create an event on this calendar. I'm going to click on Create an Event, and you'll see the same interface you had before to create an event. One thing I would recommend if you're using a homework calendar is that you have the events appear all day rather than during a time slot. This will help to ensure that students don't get confused if you assign a particular time. I'm going to click All Day. I'm going to enter a description. You'll see that because I created it specifically on the calendar, it went on my homework calendar. And I'm going to click Save. Another way you can add an event to your calendar is to go to the appropriate day and time for the event and click on the box. You can start creating your event from here. If you need to make more edits, you simply click on Edit Event. But before I do that, you can choose which calendar the event goes on from this menu. I'm going to click Homework Calendar, and I'm going to click Edit Event because I want it to appear all day, and then I'm going to click Save. If I want to create an all-day event, I can also click in the box located at the far top of the screen. Again, I can choose which calendar it goes on, and I click Create Event. Those were several ways that you could create events on your calendars. If I ever want to delete an event from my calendar, I click on it, and I click Delete. If I'd like to copy an event to another calendar, I click on it and click Copy to my calendar. I can then choose which calendar to copy it to and click Save. That event now appears twice, once on my personal calendar and once on my homework calendar. If I'd like to have an event copy over from more than one course, another way I can do this is to click on the event, go to Edit Event, and go to this More Actions option. In the More Actions area, I have the options to change owner, duplicate the event, or copy to another calendar. The duplicate event allows me to create an event once and put it on different dates of the calendar. Google Calendars are a really important way to connect with your students to ensure they know what's going on in your classroom. If you need help beyond what I've provided here, don't forget to go to your Settings menu and Help, and you'll be brought to the Google Calendar Help Center.